Hi everyone, I'm Mara Webster with SAG-AFTRA Foundation, and we are here for another one of our conversations at home. As a continued reminder, we are continuing to raise money in our COVID-19 fund for SAG-AFTRA members who are currently out of work due to all of the closed productions right now. So if you're able to support, the link is below the video. Please consider checking that out and donate. And if you're a SAG-AFTRA member, check it out for more information. I'm really thrilled that we're joined today by Haaz Sleiman, who stars in one of the episodes of Little America, which is a great anthology series on Apple TV in episode 8, The Sun, where he plays the character Rafi, who's a young man in Syria who ends up immigrating to the US due to the fact he's homosexual and is rejected by his family. And it's honestly such a beautiful, emotional episode, and I really loved watching it and your performance. And I wanted to kind of start by asking you about the fact that since it's an anthology series and your character exists just in this one episode in the finale, whether you kind of had an awareness or you knew what the other stories were going to be and if that was useful information for you at all.
Oh, that's actually a really good question. No one has asked me that, so nice. No, actually didn't. And that was really something that I wanted to know. Like, I actually pursued that, like with the director, and because it's an anthology series, so each episode was ultimately directed by a different director, different directors, and because of that, like the nature of the whole series was set up in a way where so many people were involved. It made it more difficult to really get a good sense of what the other episodes were about. Even the director couldn't basically, I can't really tell you, but it's basically essentially stories, immigrant stories about immigrants that migrate to America. Most of them, actually all of the episodes took place in America. My episode was the only one that actually started overseas and then followed the journey of the person that I portrayed until he actually finally made it in America. And so that was the only difference between my episode and all the other episodes. And also, what I also knew is our episode, The Sun, was by far the darkest and kind of the most realistic in the sense of not shying away or being afraid to grow and be dark and be honest about that side, because the other episodes were a little bit lighter. It's not that they were not truthful. They were all truthful, but they were on purpose made in a way that is lighter just because it was important to focus on the bigger picture without being distracted by the noise, essentially. And I think they did I saw the whole series, and I think they did a wonderful job. And I think with my episode, because they decided to frame it starting with the journey when he was in Syria and going to Jordan and then finally America, I mean, you can't avoid the dark aspects of what he went through. It's actually, it is really the makeup of that episode in a way. And it's what makes that moment at the end really, really special. And it makes the whole season really special because of that last moment in my episode. One write-up I thought was really wonderful. Basically said that my episode really was the one that showed what America meant for immigrants around the world, and so to me, in a way, Little America is about that, essentially. But also, it's a huge reminder that America is the land of immigrants. We all come from somewhere.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about the personal element for you, because it sounds like this is probably one of the most personal projects that you've ever filmed, because you grew up in Lebanon and you had that similar trajectory of coming over to the States. So did that cause you to think about your character on a personal level and put more of yourself into it than you usually would as an actor?
Yes and no, because I consider myself an artist and then an actor, but I'm an artist because I'm an actor. I guess that's how I put it. And as an artist, I'm inspired by love, and it's very important to me. It's always important to me. I know that's cliche, but I don't care. This is really perfect way to articulate what I'm about to say. It's like to give a voice to the voiceless, to really also, more importantly, show the truth always. So for me, I get always super excited about stories that are based on true stories. And then for me, when I found out this person is alive, he exists, that actually all happened. This is the ultimate sort of like, project that allows me and enables me to show and reveal the truth for the world, to enlighten the people, to help maybe change their minds, to maybe educate them, to make them less judgmental. I think just educating people is so important right now because there's a lot of ignorance, as we know in America as an example. That's why our president, whenever he comes out and says something divisive, almost like, not half, but like a good chunk of Americans go out and they make it known that they support his divisive ideas and hateful ideas and judgmental ideas. And so I think, for me, any project that helps me balance that out somehow. And I feel, the Little America, my episode was like the epitome of that. And also the pluses were that it was also personal, that, he was Arab, he was Muslim from Syria, I'm Arab, I'm Muslim, I'm from Lebanon, I'm from a small village in Lebanon, he's from a small village in Syria. So there's a lot of similarity. I'm gay, he's gay. In that sense, there's similarities, but that's where it ends. Then everything else, I had to really work hard to, reimagine and recapture in the most honest way, like what does it feel like to feel that, you lost your one foundation, your family, your parents. As an Arab, family is everything.
Yeah.
Like he got his arm got burnt, by his father. I never experienced that. I never had to like escape and leave my family in that manner. I left Lebanon and came to America because I, at the time, was 20, and during my teenage years, I thought I was the only gay person until I saw Truth or Dare Ramadan and I saw two men kissing. But, which is like really sad, but that's the truth. I grew up in the 80s. So that's also a similarity in the sense that we grew up in a similar environment. We're very suppressed and repressed when it comes to being gay. I didn't know anybody gay when I was living in Lebanon. So I left because I felt I didn't have a future in Lebanon. And I had to go to somewhere else where I could be myself fully. Because I was not out to my family. So that's another similarity that I have with them. I was not out to my family, but they never threatened me. Even if they actually discovered some things that indicated that I was, but they never like physically threatened me. I never felt like I was in physical danger. So that's a huge difference. Me having to recapture and reimagine that, not really the easiest thing. And but I actually I'm very proud, and I actually feel like I did. Even the lovely gentleman that I got to portray, Shadi. I met him at the premiere here in LA for Little America. And he was like crying, and he told me, I was crying when I saw it. Every time I see it, I cry because I was shocked that you were able to capture every moment as if it's exactly how it happened, because that's exactly what I went through. Just the way you would look around and everything, the things that would make you nervous and how you would say certain things and how you would explain the story about what happened, like all of it is exactly, precisely how I remember it. And so that meant the world to me. And for me, it was less so much about personal. I think it was the most important thing for me, it was to show the struggle of the LGBTQ people and to make the world see us in a much more human way. And that's really what was the most important thing for me that drove me to the whole thing. And I feel I did that, but at the same time, it's an anthology series. Apple TV Plus is amazing. They're doing amazing things. But every time I say, oh, you should watch, oh, I don't have, oh, Apple, isn't it on Netflix? It's like everything is on, oh, they want it to be on Netflix. If it's not on Netflix or Amazon, then my mom hasn't seen it yet, because she doesn't know how to, do the Apple TV thing. And so I haven't, been able to teach her, because it's kind of impossible to do that. So that's the only thing that I feel I wish. I know it will change. I know Apple TV Plus is going to be expanding, more and more people are going to join, and that's going to be good. But essentially what I'm saying, I'm constantly hungry for projects like Little America, and I want more. And so grateful that I actually finally got to do it again for a Marvel film. called The Eternals with Angelina Jolie and Salma Hayek. And it's going to come out, I think, sometime this year, I think. Everything's changing, so who knows. So I actually got to do the same thing on the Marvel film, by the way. I'm not going to give you much information because I got in trouble a while back being interviewed for Little America. I just got excited genuinely, and then I got in trouble because I signed an NDA, so I can't really say much.
I know they're very strict with what they'll let you say.
They don't play. Because
you can't even blink.
Marvel has fans. They're like an army. Really, they just go out and they really announce everything, and so they are helping Marvel to make sure anything that was like, shared about the film that they didn't want to disclose, they make sure they stop it immediately, because they called my agent once I did that. And they were like, oh, we love Haaz. My agent, before she told me they called, she said, that Haaz, they could immediately cut you out of the film and demand back your salary, what they paid you. And I'm like, what? I didn't know that. So I'm like, Little America was a gay character, and then the Marvel was a gay character, so you see the connection, right? She's like, it doesn't matter. You sign. And then she said, but luckily, they love you at Marvel. I was like, yeah, they called me and said, we love Haaz, but if he does that again, I'm not sure what will happen. So I was like, they don't have to freaking worry. After what my agent said, I'm like, never again. So yeah. But the reason why I brought it up is not to tease you with this. I brought it up because I was just saying, I got excited even more so because now Marvel's film. So now Apple TV Plus has a wider reach, believe it or not. But it's just getting people to join it, right? Because another thing that I'm gonna have to pay. You know how we all think like that, right? We're all guilty of it to a certain extent. Marvel, it doesn't work that way. Marvel has such a huge fan base and a huge wide range of ages. And it's going to be in movie theaters all across the world. So you can only imagine the amount of exposure it's going to get with what I got to do in this film. And then basically kids, young kids are going to get to see something they don't usually see. And it's pretty graphic in a good way. It's very tasteful, very classy, beautiful, and truthfully showing, let me just say, a gay family, gay parents raising a child, and very, so much love, which is really the truth, because all my gay friends who are parents are the best parents. I'm like, wow, gay families really, there's so much love in a gay family, and gay parents really are very attentive to their children. They're very thoughtful. And so I got to portray that, again, it's a superhero film. So let's keep in mind, it's mostly going to be the superhero action stuff. But in it, the human part gets to be our story. So that's really exciting. And it's going to get a lot of exposure, because that, to me, I get excited, but then I get also sad that I'm like, oh, but how many people are going to see it? Because you want more, a lot of people to see it for it to somehow maybe make a difference or make a small little dent. I'm not expecting to make huge differences, but I feel like one dent here, one dent there, and then just it adds up.
But I think it can make a huge difference, and whether it's the Marvel film or it is Little America. I was interested in hearing a little bit about the way that really can literally change lives. You were talking about how you didn't see that representation for so long growing up, and there's, so many people across the world who don't get to see representation of themselves. And there's people whose lives are literally at risk, either through their families or feelings of depression and suicide, which are higher in the LGBTQ community.
Oh, yes. In America, too.
Yeah. And what does that mean to you as an actor to really be able to take on roles that have that level of power and impact and change?
That's what I want to do all the time. If it were for me, those are the only roles and projects I would not be involved in. But so that's a luxury, and I'm not an A-list actor yet. So hopefully, if I ever become something close to an A-list actor, then maybe I could start to produce my own projects and tell the stories I want to tell. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm actually starting to do that now. I'm starting to team up with a couple of one Arab gay actor, and we're producing a show that we want to pitch to, all the streaming services. But it is like an Arab, basically it's connected to the stories that we want to tell. So I'm starting to do that, but aside from that, I don't have control over what projects come my way via my agency. So unfortunately, because of that, and also it's the way I make a living. I can't just like wait for only projects like that. Then I would have to do other projects. But what I learned to do though, I always learned to humanize the hell out of every character I play, no matter what the project is. There's always a way you can find a way to change people's minds, make a difference, enlighten people, empower them, inspire them. And so I always try to do that. But for me, absolutely, like Little America, that episode is absolutely my favorite project that I've ever filmed, favorite role that I've ever played, favorite story that I was ever part of. And hugely is because of what you're saying, what it means to a lot of people around the world, a lot of queer people queer youth here in America committing suicide, like queer youth from bullying committing suicide, and queer youth, homeless queer youth. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but there's a lot of homeless gay queer kids out there. And I actually decided that when I'm ready, I will adopt a homeless queer child. Yes, I haven't thought it out fully because there's an age thing, because the age becomes older when you're homeless, right? It's not. So, but I'm actually seriously considering it. So in that sense, it's huge, like the effect that has. Like if somebody sees their story being told, even if they're not Arab, even if they're not Muslim, they can relate to that, absolutely, in every sense. Like, if you were kicked out of your home, if you were bullied, like he was bullied, he was kicked out, like he went through everything that the kids are going through today in America, whether it's being bullied or now they're homeless, or, and so for me, it really is, it's way more universal than just a story based on a real person that happens to be from Syria, an American who was an immigrant from Syria.
Yeah, it also sounds like the making of the show itself had a huge impact on a lot of people. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Adam Ali, who plays Zayn in the show with you. And he's really the character who shepherds your character and gives him a found family and a chosen family and helps him to make that journey to America. Yeah. But I know that when filming it, that he actually hadn't come out as gay yet, and making this episode was part of that journey for him. Yeah. So I was really interested in the unique relationship between the two of you, not just in crafting that idea of your chosen family on screen, but the way in which you were uniquely shepherding him through the experience of making the show, and then also on a personal level.
Oh, I feel like I don't even have to tell you. I think you kind of already know that he became like family to me. Mm-hmm. I was like, so, especially when I found that out, and me and Steven, the director, we were just like, he's my friend. Like we chat almost every day. So he's someone who's going to always be in my life. I was extremely proud of him then, and I'm extremely proud of him now. And for me, he actually should tell you that, but I think what I went through in my life, I feel like it was the perfect thing for him, actually, to be in that situation, and especially because I'm playing the main part, and we have the best friend nature of our relationship, because I actually played the first gay Muslim character on American TV on Nurse Jackie in 2009. And, apparently it was a big deal. I didn't care so much about it at the time. Like, oh, okay, good, great, I'm glad. But then they were like, aren't you worried about death threats? I'm like, huh? And I'm like, what, should I be worried about? So this is the time that what I was going through it back then. It was way more not cool. It was way more taboo. And now it's not a big deal. Nobody cares. But he was still worried because he didn't know how his father is going to react to it. His father is still like Muslim, traditional in some ways. And so there was huge fear. Also, he was afraid, in his career, like if it affected his career. I was terrified back then because I thought it's going to damage my career. So I lied. I was interviewed by the advocate. I was kind of tricked by the journalist who interviewed me. He kind of waited to the end of the half hour. I said, one more question, even though Showtime promised me. I told Showtime, please, no personal questions, because I didn't want to lie, right? And then he snuck it in there. And he said, are you gay or straight? And I was shocked. Like, I literally started shaking. It was a phone interview, so he couldn't see me. And I said, straight. So I lied, and for years, it ate me up from the inside. I felt so ashamed. I felt like I betrayed myself, because as an artist, the most important thing for me is to share the truth with the world, with my audience. And then here I am, you know, basically betraying myself. And so all of these, and then I came out a couple of years ago, and it got huge attention. And the HRC gave me an award, the Visibility Award. To me, that meant the world, because I also received the backlash from the gay community. So I went through a lot of interesting things that really made me wiser and stronger and more capable of actually being the perfect person to help guide him throughout this, experience that he had, which to me was the best thing that could have ever happened to him, because I kept explaining to him, as an artist, as an actor, you cannot have access to all of yourself if you're either not allowing your full self to be revealed to the world. If you're hiding a part of yourself, it doesn't matter what it is and how you're hiding it, it will make you, you're actually robbing yourself from being the best artist you could be. Ever since I came out, I became a better actor than I've ever been. And the proof is, you can watch Little America and you can see my work. This is absolutely my best work. And I did also really good work on a romantic comedy that I shot earlier that year, before I shot Little America. And similarly, my best work was there as well, because as a result of that, and for me, that was also a great piece of information to make them understand that this is how look at all the people, all the actors that I idolize and look up to. They're all authentic people, 100% authentic, and they're true to themselves. And I actually then really mindfully started to look at all the other artists that I actually really respected, and they all have that in common. And so for me, I was just doing an interview. So for me, all of these different experiences, as I said, made me wiser, and getting older gets me wiser as well. And so, I think he was lucky in a way that it happened to him. And even Steven Dunn, the director, he's wonderful, just really intelligent, very smart about the whole new era of binary, non-binary, and fluid, and gender fluid, which still by now I get confused, unfortunately, by them. They're the other writer, he is, you can't call it say he, you have to refer to him as them, they. So that was, those are things that also were part of the conversation. I learned a lot myself. So I can only imagine how much Adam also learned from this. But, at the same time, I'm a very loving person, and he felt so comfortable and at ease with me from day one, because I made sure of that. It was very important for me to really make him feel confident and really enjoy the experience. It was so enjoyable, so much fun to be on set every day. It was the gayest set on earth. I mean, literally, I could almost felt like there were going to be unicorns flying and rainbows and whatnot. The director is gay, the writers are gay, I'm gay, Adam is gay. Not all actors were gay, but a lot of them. And to me, that was so fun because, it's usually not that way. So it was really fun to get that experience. Not that I always wanted to be this way. It was just nice that I got to experience it at least once.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I answered your question about Adam. Did I?
You really, really did in a beautiful way. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the scene where Rafi finally makes it to America and walks into a gay club where there's a drag performance happening for the first time, because that to me was just such a beautifully crafted moment. And your performance in that scene is so stunning. There's no dialogue, there's no words. And I feel like your performance in that moment encapsulates every single thing that he's gone through, not just in what we've seen in the episode, but his whole life and every struggle that he's had. You really convey that in a beautifully internal way. And I wanted to know a little bit about, how you set about putting together that performance in that scene, kind of what preparation you wanted to do, what sort of space you needed to put yourself in before filming, and how you really worked to pull all of that together in one moment.
Really great question, by the way. Because that's like, you're getting into the nitty gritty of the creative process, which I love. I mean, I should, right? If I'm going to be expecting myself to do good work. I never, when I saw that scene, I really initially, when I read the script, the screenplay, I didn't think so much about it because my priority was going in, when my arm gets burned, when I'm running, and I'm and then the moment that I'm sharing it for the first time with someone, what happened to me, what my dad did, those were the most important, because I'm like, how in the hell I'm going to be able to really fully, in the deepest way possible, in my bones, I feel it in my bones, and I was able to get there, but was my focus. And what had happened is I knew that scene was going to be shot in a few days. And so, of course, I started to think about it. And I said, oh, this is going to be easy. Yeah, great. As you said, no dialogue, great. I think I got it. And, of course, the Kelly Clarkson song comes out, and so that brings up the memories of me and Ham when we were in Syria, but also everything that happened. So because I did all the work to prepare for the other stuff, it prepared me for the last scene, because now in my body, I have all these experiences already, festering, marinating. I make choices and I start to think of them on a daily basis. And then I make connections to my own experiences in my life somehow. And so there's this really crazy, intricate map that I create as a result. And because of it, it kind of indirectly, as a result, prepared me for that last scene. But listen to this part. That part is really now, part of me doesn't want to share it, but I'm going to share it because, again, I like to be honest. Although, like Meryl Streep says, oh, I don't want to share the creative process because it's messy. And she is right. It is messy. It is messy in so many ways because there's no right or wrong. If you get to where you need to get, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how you get there. So for me, I did all of the preparation for the other emotional and very emotionally challenging scenes, and that sort of prepared me really for that last scene. However, my best friend from my childhood friend, we've been best friends since age 6. So we've been friends for a minute. I'm 43. He lived in Montreal. He had moved from Montreal. He was able to seek asylum, like my character, like Shadi. And he was able to, through the lottery thing, and then he finally made it to Canada because he was living in Saudi Arabia. The worst place a queer person could live in is Saudi Arabia. So he couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. And he was able to. He went to Montreal. And we both grew up in the 80s. I hope I don't cry right now because this gets me sometimes emotional. Generationally speaking, queer people have different experiences, have been having different experiences. Similar, even in America, just if you want to say generally speaking, the younger generations are becoming less racist, less sexist, and less homophobic, right? The older ones tend to hold on to those really old, dated, non-desirable qualities. And similarly with queer people, the older generations went through hell. Now the queer people have it easy, with the social media and everything's so much easier and better for them to actually deal with something like that. So me and my best friend, we really struggled a lot. We are suffering PTSD or whatever you want to call it. We're suffering major, deep damages that are still lingering, by the way. I'm still dealing with depression. I'm on antidepressants. And that's before the coronavirus. And that is due to my childhood upbringing in Lebanon. Similarly with him, his suffering got amplified in Montreal. When he got so sick, he was dealing with vertigo. He stopped working. He couldn't work. He couldn't even drink, go out and be social. He was so isolated that I remember, he came to my hotel room. I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
He came to my hotel room, and we hung out a lot, and especially after I found out that he was going through so much physical health, and no doctor can tell him what's going on. I knew it. It was because of everything that we've been going through, and sometimes our inability, or maybe our social awkwardness, or just lack of sense of self. And I knew he suffered more than me because I was able to somehow fake it, and I was good at it. Fake it in the sense that I knew how to be charming, and I like to. I'm a big flirt, for instance. I flirt with women and men, not only men. I love flirting with women, and I'm pretty effective at it. But I'm always respectful. So what I'm saying is just the nature of who I am. He was not like that. He was way more secluded. He was a nerd, essentially. And so for him, even though I'm a nerd, but I'm a different kind of nerd than him, so because of who he was, it manifested so heavily in that way. He was literally crippled by it. And to me, I couldn't help but think, here I am, I'm going to go tomorrow and film this scene, celebrating my freedom, my character's freedom. And guess what? I'm also free. As I'm an American citizen. I'm free of all of that now, that prison that I grew up in. And then now the younger generation, they're wonderful. They're doing amazing. And so the character Adam teaching the older generation, someone like me, makes sense because that's what's happening now in America today, actually. Because the younger queer people are way more freer and way more confident than the older generation queer people. I mean, if you think about it, it's crazy. And so in that minute, I thought, here I am going to be, in that moment, looking at that and thinking, how amazing. And I just couldn't help but not think of my friend who was actually, almost dying. He actually had to not only quit work, he had to fly back to Lebanon and leave Canada to go and live with his family because he couldn't even take care of himself. He couldn't walk properly. I had to, hold him to walk with him. And that scene, he was a part of it too. So part of the tears were for all the older generation queer people who really either killed themselves, died, went through hell. And so it was really me dedicating it to them as well. It was in honor of them, but it was looking at the future and looking at the really bright, positive future. And of course, taking in all the work that I did for my character in terms of what happened to him, but also an homage to all of those queer people that really went through hell before us, including myself, but the ones before me went through a way worse hell than mine. And so that couldn't leave my mind or my body, and it just was a part of the whole thing. And so for me, it became way more important than the show. Actually, that moment. It became way important than the show, way important than the scene. Yeah. It became so big, and I feel like I'm grateful that I actually went in that direction. I can't help it. That's just the kind of artist I am. And this is what you get as a result. This is what you got. This is what I got as a result.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the great things about artistry and storytelling that it has the ability to make such a huge change, kind of going back to what we were talking before. And it's such an important piece of storytelling within the community and within the world. And I hope that more people get the chance to watch it. Apple TV Plus is easy to access. You don't have to have an Apple TV to watch it.
It's really, and you can get it for free for a week trial. And it's really nothing. Was it $4.99?
Yeah.
It's like nothing. You pay for it, now gum is costing $4.99. Or cigarettes are $10, $12. So if you
and there's so much
join
great
Apple TV
there. Yeah.
Yeah, so I shouldn't have said that before. No, you should join. You know why they should join Apple TV Plus? Because they're really doing amazing. They have amazing content. They're so thoughtful, and they're really trying to change the conversation. You know, like the morning show. It's about like, you know, the Me Too movement. I mean, this was the first project, and to have like someone like Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon a part of it, it's incredible that they're doing things like that they're changing the conversation. So just because of that, you want to be part of the conversation. You don't want to miss out and be left out. So absolutely, you should join Apple TV Plus, because again, like everyone is starting to join all the streaming services.
That's amazing. Well, I'm so glad that we got the chance to talk about this, because it is such a meaningful episode, and I hope that more people will watch it. And it really has the ability to affect a huge amount of change, and through that and all the other roles that you're doing. And thank you for taking time to
can I just say one thing?
Yes.
No, my pleasure. But just one thing, because what you're saying is perfect, and I just want to add, like, thank you for saying all of that. Now more than ever, like, the coronavirus crisis, that pandemic, it's so global, the whole world, nobody is untouched by it. We're all suffering from it. But more than ever, because of it, it's actually making us see that we are, as a human race, not only capable, we have so much compassion and empathy for one another, but it took, unfortunately, for something like this pandemic to bring it out. And so what I would say to people that we're talking to right now, you should see Little America right now, especially during quarantine time, because it is the perfect series to reconnect you with your empathy and compassion, because right now, more than ever, we need to be empathetic and compassionate. And for me, it just never fails to move me when I see, like, my governor, Gavin Newsom, be a shining light and an example of empathy and compassion.
That's so beautifully said. And thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and talk today. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. Take care of yourself and stay safe.